There's a car in your driveway right now that's older than some of the people who'll judge you for driving it. Same one you had at your son's middle school graduation. Same one you drove to your dad's funeral. Same dent in the back bumper you keep meaning to fix and never will. I'm Frank, and what I want to talk about is what that car actually is, because I don't think it's a car anymore, and I don't think you do either. Here's the part most people miss. The average vehicle on American roads right now is 12.8 years old. That's a record. Passenger cars specifically, sedans, coupes, the kind of car you probably drive, average 14.5 years. That number comes from S&P Global Mobility's 2025 report, and it's the oldest the American car fleet has ever been. There are now fewer than 100 million passenger cars on U.S. roads, for the first time since the early 1970s. Read that again, the 70s. We are driving older cars in smaller numbers than at any point since people were lining up at gas stations during the OPEC embargo. And the men quietly running this whole thing? A lot of them are you. Let me walk you through what's actually happening, because the surface story is wrong. The surface story is older guy loves his car. That's lazy. What's really going on is more interesting, and a little bit sad, and also, in a weird way, kind of a flex. Start with the money, because the money is wild. In September 2025, Kelley Blue Book and Cox Automotive reported that the average transaction price for a new vehicle in the United States crossed $50,000 for the first time in history. $50,080. By December of 2025, that number had climbed to $50,326. New all-time high. And the average sticker price, the MSRP, not the transaction price, has been sitting above $50,000 for 8 straight months. $50,000 for a car. Not a luxury car. Average. So you, sitting there with a 2014 something or other in the driveway, are doing the math the dealership doesn't want you to do. You're thinking, I could go put $50,000 into a new vehicle, which means $700 a month for 6 years, plus the insurance jump, plus the registration jump, plus the property tax jump in some states, plus that first scratch in the parking lot that's going to ruin your week. Or I could put $400 into a new set of brakes and drive what's already paid off. You picked the brakes. Of course you did. Anyone who can do 5th grade arithmetic picked the brakes. But the math alone doesn't explain it. If it did, every Gen X guy on the continent would be making the same call, and they're not. Plenty of guys your age went out and signed the $700 a month note. Plenty of them are stressed about it right now. The question is why you, specifically, did not. And that's where this gets interesting. The FINRA Investor Education Foundation put out a report in October 2024 looking at how Gen X compares financially to other generations. Here's what they found. Gen X is the most mortgage-burdened cohort in the country right now. More of you are still paying off a house than any other generation. 56% of Gen Xers with student loans are worried about repayment, the highest rate of any age group. And the Allianz Life 2024 Annual Retirement Study, reported through Plan Advisor, found that 64% of Gen Xers say paying off debt is their top focus for hitting their long-term financial goals. That's the highest of any generation. 54% for millennials, 54% for boomers, 64% for you. You're the cohort that hates debt the most. Not out of nobility. You've been carrying it the longest, and you can feel it in your shoulders. So the paid-off car becomes a small kingdom. It's the one line on the budget that doesn't have a payment attached to it. It's the only big-ticket thing in your life that nobody can take. The house has a mortgage. The kid has tuition. The retirement account is whatever the market did this morning. But that car? That car is yours, free and clear. And every month you keep it running is another month you don't have to add a $500 line item to a budget that's already doing CPR on itself. That's the macro. Now let me go inside your head, because there's actually neuroscience for what's happening to you, and once you hear it, you can't unhear it. There's a brain region called the insula. It sits in there behind your ear, roughly, and it's involved in loss aversion, the feeling of, I don't want to give up what I already have. Researchers using fMRI scans, notably Knudsen and his team, watched what happens in people's brains when they're asked to consider parting with something they own. The insula lights up. Not the reasoning part of the brain, the pain and aversion part. The same general region that processes physical discomfort. When someone asks you to give up something that's yours, your brain treats it as a small injury. This is the endowment effect. The act of letting go of something you own triggers an emotional, almost physical resistance. There's a 2023 paper in Frontiers in Psychology that gets into the neural side of this. It cites the work of Shu and Peck, whose 9-study series found that the endowment effect is driven by what they call psychological ownership. The feeling that the object has become an extension of you. The longer you've had it, the deeper that hooks in. Belk, in the consumer behavior literature, called this the extended self. Your stuff stops being stuff. It becomes part of who you are. Now apply that to a car you've driven for 10 years. 10 years of seats molded to your back. 10 years of the radio presets you set during a job you don't have anymore. 10 years of one specific air freshener brand because nothing else smells right. The crack in the dashboard that happened on a road trip you actually remember. The driver's seat that has your exact body history printed into it. By that point, you're driving a museum of yourself. And when somebody, your wife, your kid, the guy at work with the new lease, suggests you trade it in, your insula fires. You feel it before you can argue with it. It's a small, dumb, animal-level no. You struggle to explain it cleanly because the feeling itself isn't a clean thought. Your biology is wearing the costume of a preference. There's a great data point from a 2025 Aviva survey out of the UK. 4,000 people. They found that 6% of households have kept a car for 16 years or longer. Which, and this is the line that stopped me, is longer than the average person stays in their home, which sits at about 13.9 years. Think about that. There are people who have lived in their car, in a sense, longer than they've lived in their house. The car outlasted the marriage, the job, the neighborhood, the dog. Same survey found that 13% of car owners would rather repair their vehicle than replace it, even if the repair costs more than the replacement. Even when it's economically stupid, they'd rather pour money into the thing they own than buy something new. That's the insula talking, not the spreadsheet. Before I keep going, I've been working on something on the side. A book called Psychology of Gen X. It gets into a lot of this. The stuff that got wired into you young and what it's doing to you now. The patterns you can't quite explain about yourself. Links in the description if you want to look. And to everyone watching and sharing this stuff, genuinely, thank you. If you want to go a step further, there's a Patreon too. Subscribers get early access to videos with no ads, and you help keep the channel running. That link's right there as well. QR code's on screen. Okay, so we've got the money and we've got the brain. Now let's get into the behavior. What you actually do with this car, day to day, that gives away how attached you really are. You know the oil change schedule. Not roughly, exactly. You can tell me what mileage you're at within 500 either way, right now, without looking. You know which tire is slightly low. You know the noise it makes on cold mornings between 30 and 40 degrees specifically. You know which mechanic to take it to and which one not to. You have a guy. The guy has a name. The guy's shop has a smell. You've been going there long enough that the guy knows your kid's name now. The repairer-driven news piece from May 2025 confirms something the whole auto service industry has been quietly building around. Vehicles in the 6 to 14-year-old range are now driving a wave of service demand. Translation? There's a whole economy out there built on the fact that you and a few million other people decided not to buy a new car. The independent shops, the part suppliers, the YouTube tutorials, the forums where some retired engineer in Ohio explains the exact bolt size on your specific model year. That's a world, and you live in it. You might not have realized you were a regular somewhere, but you are. You are somebody's repeat customer. You are somebody's favorite. The S&P data shows the U.S. scrappage rate, how often old cars actually get scrapped, is holding steady at about 4.5%. Cars aren't dying. They're staying alive because guys like you keep nursing them. And there's a competence in that which I don't think you give yourself credit for. The guy who buys a new car every 3 years has no idea what's wrong with his car. He just hands it over. You know your car the way some people know a relative. You know its tells. You know what it sounds like when it's lying. You can tell from the brake pedal feel that something's going to need attention in about 2 months. That's a small, quiet form of mastery that the rest of the world stopped valuing somewhere around 2007, and you just kept doing anyway. Here's another behavior trace. The way you talk about it. You don't say, my car. You say, the car. Or you call it by some name nobody outside the house understands. Or you refer to it by what it does. The highway car, the work car, the one with a busted cup holder. That's possession talking. That's extended self talking. People don't nickname things they're about to sell. And when somebody compliments it, and people do more than you'd think, because a clean older car has a specific dignity to it, you do that thing where you brush it off, but you're a little bit pleased. You say, yeah, she's still got some miles in her. And you tap the roof like you're patting a horse. That's a relationship. Let me bring up something else, because I think it's the actual emotional center of this whole thing, and most people miss it. You're the cohort that was told, repeatedly, that being financially responsible would be rewarded. You watched your parents do everything right, and you watched a lot of them get squeezed anyway. You watched 2008. You watched what it did to your 401k, your house, your friends, your in-laws. You watched the cost of everything keep going up, while the rules everyone told you to follow kept getting more expensive to follow. And in the middle of all of that, the mortgage you're still paying, the kids' tuition, the parents who might need help, the retirement account that's behind where the calculator says it should be, you have this one thing. This one transportation appliance that costs you almost nothing per month and just keeps working. It is, no joke, one of the most reliable things in your financial life. More reliable than the stock market. More reliable than your employer. More reliable than the housing market in your zip code. Of course you're attached to it. It earned your trust the old-fashioned way, by showing up every day for 10 years. There's something else under it too, and this one's quieter. A car that old is a small, daily argument with the part of the culture that wants you to constantly upgrade. Every commercial, every ad on your phone, every guy at work with the new lease is telling you that what you have isn't enough. And every morning when that 10-year-old engine turns over on the first try, you get to make a small, private gesture back. You get to say, I'm fine. I've got what I need. I don't owe anybody an explanation. Most days, nobody notices you doing it. You notice. That's the point. And here's the thing about the endowment effect that the textbooks don't quite capture. It's about what the thing has come to mean. A car you've had for a decade is a record. It was there for the version of you that took the job and the version of you that lost the job. It was there when you drove your kid to college and when you drove back without them. It was there for the diagnosis call you took in the parking lot of the grocery store. The car didn't do any of those things, but it was the room you were in when they happened. That counts for something your brain knows even if your mouth can't explain it. So when the next person, could be a friend, could be a coworker, could be the algorithm, tells you it's time to get something newer, you can run the math out loud. The $50,000 math, the depreciation math, the insurance math. That's all real. But the actual reason you're keeping it is older than the math. It's that little fire in the insula that goes off when somebody talks about taking your stuff. It's the psychological ownership Shu and Peck described. It's the extended self. It's the museum of you. And the museum is paid off. So why would you sell it? One last thing. The data says you're not alone in this. You're part of the biggest, oldest American car fleet in history. 289 million vehicles, average age 12.8 years, climbing every single year. Whatever quiet, slightly stubborn decision you made about your car, a few million other people made the same one. You're not weird. You're a trend. The auto industry sees you in the numbers, and they don't quite know what to do about it. They keep raising new car prices, and you keep not buying them. They keep marketing the new model, and you keep nodding politely and going home to the old one. That's a kind of power. It's small, and it doesn't feel like power, and nobody's going to write a magazine article about it. But every month, the average vehicle age goes up. That's a vote. And a lot of those votes are being cast by guys like you, in driveways like yours, by turning a key in a car that has absolutely no business still running this well, and somehow does. One more thing I want to leave you with, because I think it's the part you'll carry around after the rest of this fades. The next time somebody asks you when you're finally going to get rid of that car, watch what happens in your chest. There's a half-second pause. A little tightening. You'll probably make a joke about it. You'll say something self-deprecating about the paint or the mileage or the fact that the cup holder hasn't worked since the Obama administration. But underneath the joke, your body just told you something true. It told you that thing in the driveway is doing more work for you than transportation. It's holding a line against $50,000 sticker prices, against 7-year loan terms, against a culture that measures you by what you just bought instead of what you've kept running. It's holding the line for the version of you that decided, somewhere along the way, you weren't going to be moved around by every ad you saw. You were going to make your own call. And the car, that specific car, with the dent and the smell and the seat that fits you, is the receipt. The proof you made the call and stuck with it. 10 years of proof. Sitting in your driveway. Quietly worth more to you than anything on the lot. Keep it as long as it'll let you. Quick thing before I go. Psychology of Gen X came out of doing this channel and realizing all these topics connect into one bigger story about how you got built. So to everyone who was able to get it, or anyone thinking of getting it, thank you for supporting the channel. Genuinely. If you're looking to get it for yourself, scan the Q&R code on screen right now. Alright, go watch the one on the screen. I think it's the right one for you.